Admiral Hyun-woo Park stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the final battle unfold before him. The space around Kepler 442 was filled with human ships, their weapons blazing against the dark creatures known as the Void Swarm. For 200 years, humanity had fought alongside their alien allies against this terrible enemy. Today would finally end the war. "Admiral, the swarm's main hive is almost destroyed," reported Captain So-min Choi from her position at the tactical station. Her voice carried excitement that matched what everyone felt. After so many years of fighting, victory was within reach. Hyun-woo nodded, his eyes fixed on the massive alien structure ahead. The Void Swarm had eaten entire star systems, turning planets into empty husks. Humanity had lost billions of people fighting them. But the Galactic Defense Coalition had held strong. Humans provided the ground forces and close combat ships, while their alien allies, the Zeltharians, Corvins, and Nexari, handled the big warships and supply lines. General Kim's Marines are ready for the final assault, So-min continued. She says they can take the Hive Core in 30 minutes. General Nara Kim was leading the ground attack from her command ship nearby. She had trained her Marines for this exact moment. The plan was simple: destroy the Hive Core, and the entire swarm network would collapse. The war would be over. But something felt wrong to Hyun-woo. He had been fighting for 25 years and had learned to trust his instincts. The alien allies had been acting strange lately. Their responses to his requests came slower. Their ships stayed farther back than usual. "Sir, incoming message from the Zeltharian fleet," called the communications officer. "Put it through," Hyun-woo said. The face of Admiral Zeth appeared on screen. The insect-like alien's compound eyes glittered strangely. "Admiral Park, we must discuss an important matter." "Can it wait? We're about to finish this war," Hyun-woo replied. "No, it cannot wait. In fact, the war is about to end in a way you did not expect." A cold feeling grew in Hyun-woo's chest. "What do you mean?" Zeth's mandibles clicked in what humans had learned was alien laughter. "Did you really think we would let you primitive creatures share the galaxy with us? You have served your purpose. You weakened the swarm for us. Now you die." Before Hyun-woo could respond, alarms began screaming throughout his ship. On the tactical display, he watched in horror as every alien ship in the coalition suddenly turned their weapons toward the human vessels. "They're firing on us," So-min shouted. "All alien ships are attacking." The betrayal was complete and devastating. Zeltharian beam weapons cut through human shields like they were made of paper. Corvin torpedo ships launched massive attacks that destroyed entire squadrons. The Nexari energy beings flowed through space, boarding human ships and killing the crews. But the worst part was yet to come. The Void Swarm, which should have been dying, suddenly became organized again. Their attacks became coordinated and deadly. The aliens had been feeding information to the enemy all along. "Get me General Kim," Hyun-woo ordered. Nara's face appeared. On screen, her command ship shaking from enemy fire. "Admiral, we're surrounded. The aliens planned this. They led us into a trap." "Pull back all forces. Emergency retreat," Hyun-woo commanded. But it was too late for most of them. The human fleet had been spread out for the final attack. Now they were isolated and outnumbered. Ship after ship disappeared in balls of fire as alien weapons found their targets. Dr. Ji-ho Lee, the coalition's chief strategist, ran onto the bridge. His face was pale with shock. "Admiral, I've been monitoring alien communications. They've been planning this for months. They used us to weaken the swarm, then planned to finish both sides and take control of the galaxy." "How many ships do we have left?" Hyun-woo asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Less than 30% of the fleet is still fighting. Most of our marine forces are trapped on swarm structures with no way home," So-min reported. Hyun-woo made the hardest decision of his life. "Signal all remaining human forces. Full retreat to jump points. We leave now, or we all die here." The next few hours were a nightmare. Human ships that had fought bravely for centuries were hunted down and destroyed. Marines who had volunteered to assault the swarm hive were abandoned on alien structures, left to die fighting an enemy they could never defeat alone. General Kim managed to save some of her forces, but not many. Her ship limped away from the battle with hull breaches and failing systems. 60,000 Marines lost, she reported with tears in her eyes. They died thinking we abandoned them. They died because we were betrayed, Hyunwoo replied, and someone will pay for that. Ambassador Tae Young-yoon contacted them from Earth with the news that made everything worse. The aliens had delivered an ultimatum to the home planet. Surrender, completely and become slaves, or face total destruction. They had 3 months to decide. They think they've broken us, Dr. Lee said quietly as the surviving ships jumped toward Earth. They think humans will just give up. Will we? So-min asked. Hyunwoo looked at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were celebrating their victory. They had used humanity as tools, then thrown them away. 70% of Earth's military was gone. The aliens thought they had won. No, he said finally. They made one mistake. They let some of us live. And now they're going to learn something about humanity that they should have remembered from our history. What's that? General Kim asked. Never leave an enemy alive who has nothing left to lose. When the survivors reached Earth, they found a world in shock. The news of the betrayal had reached home before them. People gathered in streets, some crying, others angry. The government was in emergency session debating surrender, but in secret military facilities around the world, other people were making different plans. Dr. Lee called them together in an underground bunker. Scientists, military officers, engineers, and intelligence agents, people who refused to accept defeat. Project Prometheus, he announced to the assembled group. For 2 years, I've been developing weapons and strategies for a war we hoped we'd never have to fight. A war against our former allies. You knew this would happen? General Kim asked. I feared it might. I studied their cultures, their biology, their technology. I prepared for the day they might turn on us. That day has come. Admiral, Hyunwoo looked around the room at the faces of humanity's survivors. They were hurt, angry, and desperate. But they were not broken. How long do we need? He asked. 5 years to build what we need. Maybe less if we work fast. Then we have work to do, Hyunwoo said. The aliens think they've seen the worst humanity can offer. They're wrong. They've only seen us as their allies. Now they're going to see us as their enemy. And there's a big difference. 5 years had passed since the Great Betrayal. To anyone watching from space, Earth looked like a defeated world. Alien ships patrolled the skies, and Zeltharian peacekeepers walked through human cities. The aliens had won, or so they believed. Colonel Woo Jin-han crouched in the shadows beneath New Seoul, watching an alien patrol pass overhead through a crack in the tunnel ceiling. The underground tunnels stretched for hundreds of miles beneath every major city on Earth. What the aliens thought were old subway systems were actually a vast network of hidden bases. They're getting lazy, whispered Major Yoon Ji-shin, who was monitoring alien communications from her portable equipment. Same patrol route for 3 weeks, same times every day. Good, Woo Jin replied. Lazy enemies make mistakes, and we need them to make mistakes. Above ground, humans went about their daily lives under alien rule. They worked in factories that produced goods for their conquerors. They followed strict curfews and laws. To the aliens, they seemed broken and obedient. But appearances could be deceiving. Dr. Young-soo Kang emerged from his hidden laboratory, his clothes stained with chemicals and his eyes bright with excitement. Colonel, you need to see this. We've done it. The 3 of them moved deeper into the tunnel system, past areas that had been carved out and reinforced over the past 5 years. Hidden generators powered secret workshops where human engineers worked on technologies the aliens never suspected existed. In Dr. Kang's lab, a strange device sat on the workbench. It looked like a cross between a human weapon and alien technology, because that's exactly what it was. Neural Disruptor Mark 7, Dr. Kang explained. It targets the specific brain patterns that allow the Zeltharians to share thoughts. One shot and an entire squad loses their ability to coordinate. Does it work? Yoonji asked. We tested it on some captured alien equipment. The effect lasted for hours. But this is just the beginning. Dr. Kang led them to another workbench, where different devices waited. Quantum mines that can phase through Corvin shields. Energy scramblers that disrupt Nexari forms. We've spent 5 years studying every weakness our former allies have. Above them, Earth appeared to be slowly dying. The aliens had restricted human technology and limited their movements. But they had made a crucial mistake. They had underestimated how well humans could hide things and how determined they could be when they wanted revenge. General Nara Kim arrived at the underground base through a hidden entrance in an abandoned building. She looked older now, her hair showing gray streaks from 5 years of constant stress. But her eyes still burned with the fire that had made her one of humanity's greatest military leaders. "Report," she said, as the others gathered around a large table covered with maps and data screens. "Resistance cells are active on 47 worlds," reported Major Shin. "Humans who were taken as slaves after the betrayal have been making contact. They're ready to move when we give the signal." "Our fleet?" Kim asked. Colonel Han smiled grimly. "Admiral Zhang's construction project is ahead of schedule. 200 ships built in secret facilities in the asteroid belt and on the dark side of the moon. The aliens think we're too broken to build anything more dangerous than farming equipment." Admiral Kyung-ho Jang had been thought dead since the Great Betrayal. In truth, he had been leading the most important project in human history, using salvaged alien technology and new human innovations. His teams had been building a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Dr. Lee's intelligence network?" General Kim continued. "Active on all major alien worlds," Yoonji replied. "Our people are in place as servants, laborers, and maintenance workers. The aliens barely notice humans anymore. We're invisible to them." That invisibility had been humanity's greatest advantage. The aliens saw humans as a defeated species, useful only for manual labor. They didn't bother monitoring human communications carefully or watching human workers closely. It was a mistake that would cost them dearly. Dr. Young-Soo Kang activated a holographic display showing the alien command structure. "We've identified their main weakness. The 3 alien species don't actually trust each other. They're allies. Of convenience, just like they were with us if we can make them suspect each other. We turn them against themselves," General Kim finished. "Excellent. What about our special project?" Colonel Han's expression grew serious. "Dr. Song's team has made progress, but it's dangerous territory. Bioweapons designed to target specific alien species. If we use them, there's no going back." Dr. Hyojin Song had been working on the darkest aspect of Project Prometheus. Weapons that could kill aliens while leaving humans unharmed. It was terrible work, but after the betrayal, many humans had lost their concern for fighting cleanly. "Keep that as a last resort," General Kim decided. "We're not monsters yet." The meeting was interrupted by an urgent signal from Major Shin's communication equipment. "Incoming message from Dr. Lee." Dr. Ji-Ho Lee's voice crackled through the hidden speakers. He was operating from a secret base on the other side of the world, coordinating intelligence operations that spanned dozens of star systems. "I have the information we've been waiting for," he announced. "The location of the Joint Alien Command Center, and more importantly, their timeline for humanity's final extermination." The room fell silent. They had known this day would come, but hearing it confirmed made it real. "They plan to eliminate all remaining humans within 1 year," Dr. Lee continued. "They've decided we're too dangerous to keep as slaves. The betrayal at Kepler 442 was just the beginning. They want us completely extinct." General Kim looked around the room at her officers. 5 years of planning and preparation had led to this moment. "Then we move first. How long before our fleet is ready?" "Admiral Zhang says 6 months for full deployment," Colonel Han replied. "Make it 3 months. We don't have time for perfection. Signal all resistance cells. Begin Phase 1 operations immediately." The next few hours were busy as coded messages went out to human resistance groups across the galaxy. Workers who had seemed beaten and submissive for 5 years suddenly began to show their true nature. Maintenance crews who had been trusted, with alien equipment for years started making small but crucial modifications. Servants in alien government buildings began copying data and planting listening devices. Dr. Kang worked frantically to mass-produce his new weapons. "We need 10,000 neural disruptors, 5,000 quantum mines, and at least 50,000 energy scramblers," he announced to his team. "Can we do it?" one of his assistants asked. "We have to. The aliens think they've given humanity a death sentence. They're wrong. They've given humanity a countdown timer. And when it reaches 0, they're going to discover what happens when you corner an animal with nothing left to lose." As the underground base hummed with activity, General Kim stood in her private office looking at pictures of the Marines who had died in the Great Betrayal. 60,000 soldiers had been abandoned on alien structures, left to die fighting the Void Swarm. Their sacrifice would not be forgotten. "Soon," she whispered to their images. "Soon, you'll be avenged." Above ground, alien patrols continued their routes, unaware that beneath their feet, humanity was preparing for war. The aliens had spent 5 years believing they had broken the human spirit. They were about to learn that they had only given it time to grow stronger and more dangerous. The countdown to humanity's supposed extinction had begun, but the aliens had made one crucial miscalculation. They thought they were counting down to humanity's end. Instead, they were counting down to their own. The attack began at exactly midnight, Earth Standard Time. Across 12 star systems, humans who had been silent for 5 years suddenly spoke with one voice. It was a voice of rage, and it would not be ignored. Commander Dong-Hyun Lim crouched in the ventilation shaft of the Zeltharian command station orbiting Proxima Centauri. For 3 years he had worked there as a maintenance technician, invisible to the aliens who barely considered humans worth noticing. Tonight, that invisibility would become their downfall. "All teams in position," he whispered into his hidden communicator. Around the station, 40 other humans were waiting in similar positions. Janitors, cooks, repair workers, and clerks. The aliens had placed them in these jobs because they seemed harmless. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Execute," came General Kim's voice through the secure channel. Dong-Hyun opened his toolbox and removed what looked like a standard repair device. But Dr. Kang's hidden workshop had made special modifications. The tool was now a neural disruptor, and it was pointed directly at the station's main communication array. The effect was immediate. Throughout the command center, Zeltharian officers suddenly stopped their coordinated movements. Their shared consciousness network, which had made them so effective in battle, was completely disrupted. They stumbled around like confused insects, unable to communicate with each other or their ships. "Communication network down," Dong-Hyun reported. Moving to secondary objectives. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. On Corvan military bases, human workers revealed hidden quantum mines that had been planted over months of careful work. The mines phased through the aliens' supposedly impenetrable shields and destroyed power systems, weapons, and command centers. On worlds where the energy-based Nexari lived, human servants activated energy scramblers that had been disguised as cleaning equipment. The Nexari, who existed as pure energy, found themselves unable to maintain their forms. Many were forced into emergency hibernation, leaving their facilities completely undefended. Admiral Hyunwoo Park stood on the bridge of his new flagship, watching the reports come in from across the galaxy. For 5 years, the aliens had believed he was dead, killed in the Great Betrayal. In reality, he had been working with Admiral Jang to build humanity's secret fleet in hidden bases where alien sensors could not detect them. All targets hit simultaneously, reported Captain So-Min Choi, who now served as his tactical officer. The aliens have lost communication with 70% of their forces. Phase 2, Hyunwoo ordered. The space around Earth suddenly filled with ships that had not been there moments before. 200 vessels emerged from hidden positions in the asteroid belt and behind the moon. But these were not the same human ships the aliens remembered. 5 years of salvaging alien technology and improving on it had created something new. The ships were faster than anything the aliens flew. Their weapons could punch through shields that had once seemed impossible to penetrate. Most importantly, they used technology reverse-engineered from the Void Swarm itself, making them immune to many conventional alien weapons. This is Admiral Park to all alien forces in Earth orbit. Hyunwoo broadcast on all frequencies. You have 1 minute to surrender or you will be destroyed. The response came from Admiral Zeth, the same Zeltharian who had announced humanity's betrayal 5 years earlier. Impossible. Humans are defeated. You have no fleet capable of threatening us. You're right, Hyunwoo replied calmly. The old human fleet was destroyed. This is the new one, 30 seconds remaining. The alien ships around Earth opened fire, expecting to easily destroy the human vessels as they had 5 years ago. Instead, their weapons passed harmlessly through ships protected by Void Swarm energy fields. The human return fire was devastating. Less than an hour, every alien ship in Earth's system was either destroyed or surrendering. The planet's surface erupted in celebration as alien occupation forces found themselves cut off from support and surrounded by humans who were no longer pretending to be defeated. Dr. Hyejin Song watched from her laboratory as the bioweapons she had created were deployed against alien ground forces. The weapons were precisely designed to target each species' unique biology while leaving humans completely unharmed. Zeltharian troops collapsed as their nervous systems shut down. Corvan soldiers found their thick hides dissolving. The few Nexari energy beings on the surface were dispersed by weapons that disrupted their energy matrices. It's working perfectly, she reported to General Kim. All alien ground forces neutralized with 0 human casualties. General Kim stood in her command center, watching tactical displays show the liberation of Earth in real time. Red markers representing alien forces were disappearing one by one, replaced by green markers showing human control. Dr. Lee, report. On off-world operations, she requested. Dr. Jiho Lee's voice came through clearly from his coordination center. Resistance cells have successfully captured alien installations on 37 worlds. Enemy supply lines are completely disrupted. Their command structure is in chaos. The aliens had made a fundamental mistake in their thinking. They had grown so accustomed to victory that they had forgotten how to respond to defeat. Their forces were spread across the galaxy in occupation duties, not prepared for coordinated resistance. When the human uprising began, they had no ready response. Admiral Kyung-ho Jang's hidden fleet was already moving toward the next phase of operations. His ships, built in absolute secrecy, represented the best of human engineering combined with captured alien technology. They were faster, more heavily armed, and better protected than anything the galaxy had seen before. All primary objectives secured, he reported to Admiral Park. Ready to proceed with Phase 3. Negative, Park replied. Give them time to understand what's happening. Let them see how completely they've been outmaneuvered. On the Zeltharian homeworld, panic was spreading through the government. The humans they had dismissed as broken slaves had somehow built a fleet capable of defeating their best forces. Worse, the attacks were clearly coordinated and planned, meaning the humans had been preparing for this moment for years. How is this possible? Demanded the Zeltharian High Council member responsible for human affairs. Our intelligence said they were completely defeated. Our intelligence was wrong, admitted Admiral Zeth, who was among the few survivors of the Earth battle. The humans were never defeated. They were planning. Similar conversations were taking place in Corvan and Nexari leadership circles. The species that had prided themselves on their superior intelligence and technology were forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. They had been completely outsmarted by the primitive humans they had betrayed. Ambassador Tae Young-yoon, who had spent 5 years secretly building a network of contacts among oppressed species throughout the galaxy, chose this moment to reveal humanity's broader strategy. To all species who have suffered under the tyranny of the Zeltharian Corvan-Nexari alliance, he broadcast on all galactic communication channels, humanity offers you a choice. Join us in creating a galaxy where all species are equal, or continue to live under the rule of those who see you as subjects to be exploited. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Dozens of species that had been conquered or oppressed by the alien alliance rose up in rebellion. They had been waiting for someone strong enough to challenge their oppressors. Humanity had just proven they were that someone. Dr. Jae-Sung-Oh activated his most secret project from a hidden facility on Mars. His team had spent 3 years developing weapons that could manipulate local space-time, turning defensive positions into traps and escape routes into prisons. These weapons were now deployed around key alien worlds, preventing their fleets from retreating or regrouping. As reports continued to pour in from across the galaxy, Admiral Park realized that humanity's plan was working even better than they had hoped. Not only were they defeating their betrayers, but they were inspiring a galactic revolution against tyranny. "Signal all human forces," he ordered. "Begin Phase 4. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you betray humanity." The aliens had thought they were clever when they betrayed their human allies. They had believed they could use humanity as tools and then discard them when they were no longer needed. Now they were learning that humanity remembered every betrayal, every lost life, every moment of suffering, and humanity was ready to collect on the debt. Fleet Admiral Min Ho Bei studied the tactical display showing the positions of alien fleets across the galaxy. 3 months had passed since humanity's uprising began, and the war was not going as the aliens had expected. They kept losing battles they should have won, to an enemy they had believed was already defeated. "The Corvin Third Fleet is moving toward the Vega system," reported his tactical officer. "They're trying to regroup with Zeltharian forces." "Let them," Minho replied calmly. "General Ro, are your people in position?" General Sujin Ro smiled from her command ship. She led the Retribution Corps, a special force created specifically to hunt down the aliens who had betrayed humanity. "We've been waiting for them. Every move they've made for the past week has been exactly what we wanted them to do." The aliens still didn't understand what they were facing. They thought they were fighting the same humans they had betrayed 5 years ago. They expected human tactics to be direct and emotional, driven by anger rather than careful planning. They were wrong. Dr. Jae-Sung-Oh had spent the past year developing new weapons that seemed to break the laws of physics. His reality-warping devices could turn space itself into a weapon. As the alien fleets approached Vega, they found themselves trapped in areas where space-time had been twisted into impossible shapes. "Their ships are caught in a gravity maze," reported the sensor operator. "They can't move forward, backward, or sideways without being pulled toward artificial gravity wells." "And their weapons?" General Ro asked. "Redirected back at themselves through spatial loops. Every shot they fire hits their own ships." The Corvin fleet, once proud and mighty, found itself completely helpless. Their thick armor and powerful shields meant nothing when their own weapons were being used against them. Within hours, the entire fleet was either destroyed or surrendering. But humanity's revenge was not random destruction. It was carefully planned justice, designed to make each alien species face the consequences of their specific betrayals. The Zeltharians had provided false intelligence that led to the deaths of thousands of human marines. So humanity made sure they could never trust their information again. Human cyber warfare specialists, led by Dr. Song's team, had infected every Zeltharian communication network with viruses that randomly changed data. "Status report on Zeltharian intelligence operations," Admiral Bei requested. "Complete chaos," replied the communications officer. "They can't tell if any information they receive is real or fake. Their fleet commanders don't trust orders from headquarters. Their supply ships don't know where to go. They're paralyzed by their own paranoia." The Corvins had abandoned human ground forces in their hour of greatest need, so humanity took away their ability to supply their own forces. Human ships, using Void Swarm stealth technology, appeared from nowhere to destroy supply convoys and cut trade routes. Corvin planets found themselves isolated and starving. The Nexari energy beings had used their ability to phase through matter to board human ships and kill the crews. So humanity developed weapons that disrupted their energy forms, trapping them in solid matter where they slowly died unless they surrendered. Each punishment fit the crime perfectly, and the aliens were beginning to understand that humanity had studied them very carefully during their years of supposed defeat. "Incoming transmission from the Zeltharian High Council," announced the communications officer. Admiral Bei nodded. "Put them through." The insect-like face of High Counselor Vex appeared on screen. Where once there had been arrogance, now there was only fear. Admiral Bay, we request an immediate ceasefire to discuss terms. The time for discussion was 5 years ago, before you betrayed us, Bay replied coldly. The time for surrender is now. You cannot defeat all 3 of our species, Vex protested. Our combined fleets outnumber yours 10 to 1. Your combined fleets are scattered, confused, and cut off from supplies, Bay pointed out. But you're right about one thing. We're not trying to defeat you through numbers. We're defeating you through intelligence, which you clearly lack. The truth was that humanity's fleet was much smaller than the alien armadas. But size meant nothing when the enemy couldn't coordinate their movements, couldn't trust their information, and couldn't supply their forces. The aliens had forgotten the most basic rule of warfare. An army that cannot communicate or resupply will always lose, no matter how large it is. Ambassador Tae Young-yoon had been busy during the war, building an alliance of species that had suffered under alien rule. His broadcast to the galaxy had inspired uprisings on hundreds of worlds. The aliens now faced rebellions not just from humanity, but from dozens of other species. The Draconian Empire has declared for humanity, Yoon reported during the daily strategy meeting. So have the Cetacean Collective and the Silicon-based Crystalline Federation. The aliens are fighting a war on 50 fronts. Dr. Lee, monitoring alien communications from his intelligence center, had disturbing news. The 3 alien species are planning something desperate. They're recalling all their fleets to one location. Admiral Bay studied the incoming data. Where? Zelthara Prime, the Zeltharian homeworld. They're planning to make their final stand there. General Rowe laughed grimly. Perfect. They're doing exactly what we want them to do, gathering all their forces in one place where we can destroy them all at once. It's a trap, Dr. O warned. They must know we want them concentrated. They're planning something. Of course it's a trap, Admiral Bay agreed. But the question is, whose trap is it really? The answer came from Dr. Song's intelligence network. For months, human agents throughout the galaxy had been planting listening devices and gathering information. Now that intelligence revealed the aliens' true plan. They're going to use a planet-killer weapon, she reported. Something they've been building in secret for the past year. They plan to lure our fleet to Zelthara Prime, then destroy the entire system, including their own homeworld, just to eliminate us. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. The aliens were so desperate to destroy humanity that they were willing to commit genocide against their own people. How many Zeltharians live on their homeworld? General Rowe asked quietly. 12 billion, Dr. Lee replied. And they're willing to kill them all just to stop us, Admiral Bay said. That tells us everything we need to know about our former allies. But humanity had one more surprise for their betrayers. The fleet that approached Zelthara Prime was not humanity's only force. While the aliens had been focused on the obvious threat, human ships using advanced stealth technology had been surrounding all 3 alien homeworlds. Execute Operation Final Justice, Admiral Bay ordered. Across the galaxy, the aliens discovered that their careful trap had become their own prison. Human fleets appeared simultaneously at Zelthara Prime, the Corvan homeworld of Korvac, and the Nexari energy realm of Nexus. But these were not invasion fleets. They were rescue fleets. Attention all civilian populations. Admiral Park broadcast, on all channels. This is the human fleet. We are here to evacuate any beings who wish to leave before your governments destroy your worlds. Transport ships are standing by. The aliens had expected humanity to attack their civilians in revenge. Instead, humanity offered to save them from their own leaders' desperate plans. The effect was immediate and devastating to alien morale. Faced with the choice between leaders who would kill them to deny victory to their enemies, and humans who offered them safety, billions of alien civilians chose humanity. Within days, the 3 alien governments found themselves ruling empty worlds, while their populations fled to human-protected space. The planet-killer weapons they had built became meaningless when there was no enemy fleet to destroy, and no civilian population left to threaten. Final alien fleet resistance is collapsing, General Rowe reported. Most of their ships are surrendering, rather than fighting. Admiral Bay watched as the last symbols of alien military power were either destroyed or captured. 5 years of careful planning had led to this moment. The species that had betrayed humanity were now completely defeated. Signal, all human forces, he ordered. Cease offensive operations, begin humanitarian assistance for alien refugees, and prepare for the next phase. What's the next phase? Dr. O asked. Justice, Admiral Bay replied. Real justice, not revenge, but the kind of justice that builds something better from the ashes of what came before. The war was over, but humanity's greatest challenge was just beginning. They had proven they could defeat their enemies. Now they had to prove they could be better than them. President Bo Young Park stood before the Galactic Assembly, looking out at representatives from over 200 species. 6 months had passed since the end of the war against humanity's former allies. Now came the harder task, building something better from the ruins of the old order. The question before us today is simple, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the great hall on the space station that had once been the aliens' seat of power. What kind of galaxy do we want to live in? In the front row sat the defeated leaders of the 3 alien species. They were not in chains or cages. They sat as equals in the assembly, though everyone knew their power was broken. This had been humanity's choice, justice through law, not revenge through violence. Supreme Judge Woon-Sik Kim had spent the past months conducting war crimes trials across the galaxy. The proceedings were broadcast live so everyone could see that justice was being done fairly. The worst war criminals faced punishment, but ordinary soldiers and civilians were offered chances to rebuild their lives in the new order. The evidence shows that the betrayal at Kepler 442 was planned by a small group of leaders. Judge Kim had announced during the final trial. The majority of alien military personnel were following orders they believed were legitimate. They will face no punishment beyond serving the new galactic community. This decision had shocked many humans who wanted revenge for the 60,000 Marines who had died in the betrayal. But President Park had insisted on justice over vengeance. If we become the same kind of tyrants they were, then we've lost everything we fought for, she had explained to the angry crowds on Earth. Dr. Ji-Ho Lee, now Secretary of Galactic Affairs, presented the charter for the new Terran Commonwealth. It was a system of government unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Instead of one species ruling over others, it was designed for true equality among all members. Every species, regardless of size or technology level, gets an equal voice in the assembly, he explained. Decisions are made by consensus, not by force. And most importantly, membership is voluntary. Any species can leave if they choose. The former alien leaders listened with expressions of disbelief. They had ruled through fear and force for centuries. The idea of voluntary cooperation seemed impossible to them. This will never work, declared former High Counselor Vex. Without force, without fear, beings will choose chaos over order. Perhaps that's what your people would choose, replied Admiral Hanul Seo, who now commanded the Commonwealth's peacekeeping forces. But most species want to live in peace and prosperity. Given the chance, they'll choose cooperation over conflict. Admiral Seo's fleet was unlike any military force in galactic history. It included ships and crews from dozens of species, all working together under human leadership. Former enemies fought side by side, united by their shared commitment to protecting the new order. The transformation hadn't been easy. Many humans still wanted revenge for the betrayal. Many aliens still believed their species were superior to others. But gradually, working together toward common goals, old hatreds were beginning to heal. Captain So Min Choi had been put in charge of the Commonwealth Military Academy, where she trained officers from every member species. The sight of human, Zeltharian, Corvan, and Nexari cadets learning together was still strange to many, but it was becoming normal for the new generation. The key is shared hardship, she explained to a group of visiting diplomats. When beings face challenges together, they learn to trust each other. These cadets will graduate as friends, not as representatives of competing species. The real test of the new order came when long-range sensors detected something that made everyone's blood run cold. The Void Swarm was returning, and they were stronger than ever. They used the chaos of our civil war to rebuild, reported Dr. Young-Soo Kang from his monitoring station. The swarm has grown to twice its previous size. They're heading for the core worlds, and they'll arrive in 3 months. Fear spread through the assembly as representatives remembered the devastation the swarm had caused in their first invasion. Some species began demanding that humanity fight the swarm alone, claiming it wasn't their responsibility. "This is your fault," accused a Corvan delegate. "If you hadn't destroyed our fleets, we could defend ourselves." Admiral Hyunwoo Park, now elderly but still sharp, stood to address the assembly. 5 years ago, our former allies abandoned us to die fighting this enemy. They chose to save themselves rather than stand together. Today we face the same choice. Will we repeat their mistakes or will we do better? The debate raged for hours. Some species wanted to flee to distant galaxies. Others wanted to surrender and hope the swarm would spare them. A few even suggested offering humanity as a sacrifice to buy peace. President Park let them argue until they exhausted themselves. Then she stood and spoke words that would be remembered for generations. "The Commonwealth Fleet will fight the Void Swarm," she announced. "We will defend every member world, every species, every being who has joined our alliance. That includes our former enemies. That includes those who want to abandon us. That includes those who hate us. Because that's what justice means. Protecting everyone, not just those who deserve it." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Species after species stood to volunteer their forces for the defense. The Draconians offered their powerful warships. The Cetaceans provided their underwater manufacturing facilities. Even some Zeltharians, Corvans, and Nexari stepped forward to fight alongside their former enemies. "We misjudged humanity," admitted Admiral Zeth, the Zeltharian who had announced the original betrayal. "We thought strength meant the willingness to sacrifice others. We were wrong. True strength is the willingness to sacrifice yourself for others." The final battle took place in the space between galaxies, where the Commonwealth Fleet met the Void Swarm in the largest space battle in recorded history. But this time, humanity wasn't alone. Ships from over 100 species fought together, their differences forgotten in the face of a common enemy. Dr. Jae Sung-oh's reality-warping weapons proved devastating against the swarm. The aliens' energy shields were useless against attacks that came from folded space. Human neural disruptors, originally designed to fight aliens, turned out to be even more effective against the swarm's collective consciousness. But the real weapon was something the galaxy had never seen before: perfect cooperation between species that had been enemies for centuries. Zeltharian hive mind coordination combined with human tactical flexibility. Corvan heavy weapons supported by Nexari energy manipulation. Draconian courage backed by Cetacean technical expertise. The battle lasted for 3 days. When it ended, the Void Swarm was not just defeated, but completely destroyed. The threat that had hung over the galaxy for millennia was finally gone forever. In the aftermath, as the combined fleet limped home, something remarkable happened. Former enemies helped repair each other's ships. Species that had fought wars for generations worked together to rescue survivors. The galaxy had learned what humanity had always known: that beings were stronger together than apart. Years later, Captain Choi, now an old woman, stood before a new class of cadets at the Commonwealth Academy. The students included beings from species that hadn't even been discovered when the war began. The galaxy was growing, expanding, exploring together. "Why did humanity choose to protect their former enemies?" asked a young Zeltharian cadet. Choi smiled, remembering the scared and angry people they had been after the betrayal. "Because we learned something important during our years underground. Revenge feels good for a moment, but justice lasts forever. We could have destroyed our enemies, but instead we chose to turn them into allies. That's the difference between being strong and being truly powerful." She gestured to the Academy's motto written in dozens of languages above the entrance: "Together we rise." "The aliens who betrayed us thought they were ending humanity's story," she continued. "Instead, they taught us to write a better story, not just for humanity, but for everyone. And that story is just beginning." Outside the Academy, ships from Across the galaxy came and went, carrying beings on missions of exploration, trade, and friendship. The new Terran Commonwealth had grown beyond anything its founders had imagined. Not because it was built on conquest, but because it was built on the radical idea that all beings deserved dignity, justice, and hope. The betrayal that was meant to destroy humanity had instead taught them to build something greater than anyone had ever imagined possible. The galaxy was finally at peace not because war was impossible, but because cooperation was more powerful than conflict. And at the heart of it all was a simple truth that humanity had learned in their darkest hour. The best way to defeat your enemies is to turn them into friends.